welcome back to the Proper Picks podcast, Best Bets edition. We are back for week one. We're going to recap here our last week. We will do this every week, just full transparency. We're going to throw up everything just so you can see what we did for the week and where we're heading for next week. Week recap, we went 8-7. That's plus 5.9 units for the week. Not a bad week. I'm not disappointed in making some money, that's for sure. There was some opportunity there for us to grab a little more. Quickly in the MLB, snagged us a nice parlay out the gate. That was on Tuesday. We had the Yankees plus 1.5, Braves on the money line, and Miami minus 130 on their money line. It was a nice payout for us. Really what I'm staring at is those two X's. You always remember the L's. We threw Scherzer on the Mets game minus 1.5. They lose 1-0, no offense there. That was a little disappointing considering our pitcher only gave up a run there. Was really hoping to snag that. And then the Yankees were up 3-0, cruising into the ninth inning. They gave up a 2-run homer with 2 outs. And, that's why they give you the run line. Kind of heartbreaker moment there for you. 5-2 for baseball, plus 3.32 units. Solid there. Hawaii plus 8. That was just the biggest swing and a whiff I've had in a while. And to be honest, typical of early weeks of college football. You got to see where teams are at. That's exactly why we only threw one game up for everybody. It was my most confident game as far as how I was feeling. I really bought into the Hawaii coach. Played there, was a quarterback there, was rejuvenating the program, yada, yada, yada. Well, they came out flat. It was just – it really wasn't even that ugly in the get-go. Hawaii scored first, up 7-0. Vandy bounces back with a touchdown. Hawaii turns the ball over. Vandy defensive lineman picks it up, runs it in the end zone. You're like, all right, well, that might be the worst thing we see all game. We're only down 7. It was 21-10 at half. I think some people were still pretty optimistic for Hawaii as I saw a lot of second-half bets flying around. Obviously, we did not. And it was just a beatdown in the second half. A couple more turnovers that resulted in direct scores. You just kind of set it and forget it on this one. The week 0 college football slate was not as big, so I was trying to go quality over quantity there. Obviously did not deliver a quality pick. So we'll be 0-1 in college football to start the season, minus 1.65. Sliding over to the PGA Tour, Scotty Scheffler folds on Sunday, opened up the door for our boy Rory. We got him at 9-1 on a half-unit play. Picked us up 4.5 units there. JT did his thing like he always does at East Lake. We talked about that last week. I'll take JT at East Lake every year if he's there. He just likes the golf course, always seems to be, if he's not in the hunt to win, he's just around that leaderboard. We had him top 10 and top 5, scooped us 4 units there. And overall for the week, Cam Smith and Ron really disappointed as far as where we thought they'd be to finish. But, 3-5 plus 4.23 units for the week. Not going to be mad about it. It's profit as well. And obviously we went 8-7, 5.9 units up for the week. That's 7 out of 8 weeks now profit for us. And I'm just loving the progression there, as far as consistency. That's what you want when you're gambling like this. I don't really want too many big down weeks. It's hard on your bankroll management. So I'm overall very pleased. We had a great run in golf over the last 3 weeks. That was 3 straight weeks where we picked the winner. This one being a little easier, not easier to pick the winner, but there was only 30 guys playing. But those last 2 weeks were so solid for us. We're going to slide in here to week 1 and check out our preview for the week 1 college football slate. All right, so we slide over to the college football week 1 best bets. If you look over on the left side of the screen, that's the futures that we already have out. There'll probably be some more added, maybe not into the NFL. As we get closer next week to the NFL season. Overall, on the right side, you'll see our all plays section that breaks down by every sport for this year and last year with college football and NFL. And we'll take it over here to the middle of the screen. Tonight, we're taking Penn State minus 3 at minus 120 on the money line for a unit. As you'll see, every bet we lay single-wise this week is just going to be for 1 unit. They will obviously grow when we get a little more confidence and we see a little more sample size out of teams. But for this game in particular, it's tricky because you get Big Ten versus Big Ten to open, but I really like James Franklin in the spot. Sean Clifford was hurt the back end of last season, and he's returning for his 6th year. Really seasoned quarterback for them, and I just feel like season helps in the opening part of the season. So we're going to take them minus 3. Purdue is not a team to take lightly, and especially at home. But I just feel like this is going to be probably a close ball game. that Penn State runs away with at the end. Maybe a 7 to 10 point win is kind of where I see that. Next up will be Notre Dame plus 17 for a unit at minus 108. This one's, I wouldn't say it's simple for me, but I would say Marcus Freeman in his coaching debut getting 17 points, and as he sits as the 5th-ranked team preseason. I don't buy into a lot of the preseason hype, and that kind of goes for what I'm saying about Ohio State. I think Ohio State's going to be really good this year. Probably your Big Ten winner, probably in the playoff, and a good chance to meet maybe Bama in the national championship, maybe Clemson, maybe Texas A&M, maybe Georgia. I don't know, but I know this. Opening weeks are always real tricky for teams that are projected to do really well. The first quarter gets a little sloppy. It's 7-7, it's 10-7, and then we got us a ball game, and the teams kind of wake up and they get their mojo going. And I just feel like 17 is such a large number to lay on your opening game against a solid team. Notre Dame is not a slouch. They obviously got, new coach, but I just feel like this number is too high. So we're going to ride with the Irish here at plus 17. Kind of transitioning to my next game, it kind of falls the same way. Oregon, neutral game, if you want to call it that, against Georgia and Atlanta. I think Georgia loses a lot of pieces on defense, and there's obviously a lot of players there that they can plug and play with, but it's a first game. They're coming off a national championship. Is there a hangover effect? I doubt it because Kirby's so hungry, but I just think Oregon's got the players to keep this game close. And, the underlying story there, Dan Lanning, the ex-Georgia defensive coordinator from last year's championship team, is now the head coach in Oregon. And I just feel like this game's going to mean a lot to him. I'm not saying by any means that Ohio State or Georgia lose these two ball games, but I just see a world where both these games are closer than what Vegas sees it at. I'm seeing this more as Ohio State winning by a touchdown or 10, and I think Oregon can hang with Georgia in this ball game. Take it back to the Auburn game a couple years ago against Oregon. Oregon had that game won, and I think, with Herbert there, had the better team. So I can see this team hanging in there, and I'll take that 17 points. It seems, a little too high there. Moving down, we've got NC State at minus 11.5 against ECU. I'm extremely bullish on NC State this year. I think they have an opportunity to hang with Clemson in that division and possibly win an ACC championship. They return a lot of players, I believe 17 back from the starting roster. The quarterback's back. I don't know. I think ECU plays spoiler a lot to teams, but it's usually in weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6 when you see that. This seems like one of these games where I feel like NC State's going to want to come out and prove a point here and maybe get ugly. I'm seeing this thing in the 35 to 17 range, 35 to 14. I just think NC State's got enough in the tank to really come out and lay the hammer on them. Continuity will be big here, I feel like, because NC State does return a lot of guys back from their roster. And ECU, let's be honest, they're not the worst team you're going to see play, but this is a middle non-Power 5 team that kind of makes a swing every now and again at a big school. I just don't see that happening here. Moving down to Houston at minus 4. This is one of those games where it was going to either be a lean for me and not an official play, but I slid it in there because I just got a lot of confidence in Holgorsen. Quarterback's back. He threw for 3,000 yards last year. Good bowl win last year against Auburn. I've seen a lot, and I'm kind of doing the same. I'm projecting this team to be a possible shot Cincinnati last year. The schedule doesn't set up for them as well as Cincy does, but I think there's an opportunity that you could see Houston go 12-0. They went 10-2 last year. Lost to Cincinnati was one of their losses. I think UTSA had a magic run last year, but this thing sets up for me where I get a feeling people might be sitting there going, God, why didn't I lay Houston yesterday or earlier today? That line was 4. They win by this. I mean, it just sets up to me that Houston's coming out to prove a point. I like the defense there. And like I said, I like Holgorsen. He's a good coach. Minus 4 just seems a little too low for me. I'm seeing this more in the 10 to 14 range, which means I've got some extra points to roll with. San Diego State minus 6 for 1 unit. I've been staring at this one now for a couple weeks. I don't like looking at last year's results, but they beat the brakes off of Arizona last time they played. Arizona goes 2-10 last year. San Diego State has a great season. All that you can throw out, in my opinion. I'm just looking strictly at that San Diego State defense. At the end of the year, I believe you see San Diego State in the metrics will be a top 15 defense. Arizona's hit the portal pretty hard. They should be improved. It just sets up for me that I see San Diego State winning this game by, same deal, 10, 14, 17. Arizona, I don't know if they'll have the continuity with all the transfers coming in. And they had such a bad year last year that they should be improved. But we're talking about a defense that I'm telling you, they shouldn't be able to run the ball in San Diego State at all. So they're going to have to do it all through the air. That sets up where if you're throwing a lot, we see maybe a couple interceptions against a pretty good secondary as well. San Diego State does have some weapons to replace on the offensive side. So this game in particular, don't get crazy when you see a slow start and this thing's kind of low. But I think by the end of the game, San Diego State wears them out, and we get a cover there. That will be the end of the slate for Saturday. I'm moving into Sunday. I've got LSU -3. I've been bullish on this one. I'm not that bullish on LSU for the season, but I think in the opener here you get Brian Kelly trying to make a statement. I believe Jaden Daniels is going to get a lot of playing time here, transferred from Arizona State. This game's in New Orleans. It's pretty much a home away from home for LSU. Florida State's not that far away, let's be honest, but they will have to travel a hair. They're probably already over there now, let's be honest, the way this week one traveling goes. But I wonder about Florida State. Recruiting okay. Norville's got to get it going. He is not, I wouldn't say a hot seat candidate, but let's say they go 5-7 again. He's definitely on the hot seat for next year. But I just think LSU has enough in the tank here, enough weapons, and Brian Kelly's going to want to make a statement. He caught a lot of flack leaving Notre Dame, being there so long, to come down to the SEC where all the money is and all the TV deals are. He's going to want to prove a point here. And I think no better place to do it in New Orleans at the Caesars Superdome to go ahead and start you off 1-0. And the fact we're sitting at -3, we win the game 24-21. We push. I see this as more as a 31-17, 31-20 type score. But LSU's going to have to bring it on offense. I know Florida State is improved there on the defensive side of the ball. And then, not to get crazy, carried away, I did lay a parlay. I'm not going to have many of these. I have a no teaser rule for 2022. I'm going to see how strong I can be in that category. But I will lay the parlays every now and again. It's an opening week, half unit. We're basically getting 6-1 on the parlay at LSU -3, Notre Dame +17, and Oregon +17. Like I said, I'm not going to throw a full unit on it, but, you can scoop 3 units up if you hit it. It's going to be a 2-day parlay since we've got LSU on Sunday, so you will have to wait if we do scoop the first 2. The goal obviously is to sweep the board. That's obviously not realistic in a lot of scenarios, but I feel very confident about this slate. And I'm hoping to chase the bag a little bit here. I hope everyone's having a great Thursday. We will be back next Thursday, and we've got some NFL to discuss for week 1 and some college football week 2 action that'll be coming your way. Make sure to follow me at the Proper Picks Pod on Twitter. Daily picks, live bets, everything's coming that way. Some funny content. If you've got any games that you're staring at that I'm not talking about, or just disagree at all, I'd love to hear opinions on it. There's nothing better than a little banter back and forth. So hope everybody has a good one. Make sure you're betting proper, and we'll be back next week.